The name's Bond. James Bond.
What makes a James Bond? Is it the suave tuxedos, the shaken not stirred martinis, or the cold stare that can freeze a villain in his tracks? For decades, audiences around the globe have debated who should carry the mantle of 007, and now with Amazon MGM fully in control of the franchise, the biggest shakeup yet is on the horizon. New details about the next James Bond film have surfaced, and they paint a fascinating picture of where the studio wants to take the character. With Denis Villeneuve, yes, the same visionary behind Dune, attached to direct, and Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight penning the script, expectations are sky high. But what's truly caught fans off guard isn't just the possible story direction. It's the type of actor Amazon is reportedly searching for to embody Britain's most famous spy. This isn't about a celebrity with an already packed resume. The word is that Bond might be played by someone you've never even heard of before, and that deliberate choice could redefine what it means to step into the shoes of 007. According to recent reports, Villeneuve and the studio are eyeing a completely fresh face, an unknown actor in his late 20s or early 30s. The idea is to stay close to Ian Fleming's original novels, portraying Bond as a blunt instrument, tall, physically imposing, and dangerous from the very first glance. This decision effectively rules out many of the fan-favorite names that have floated around social media for years. Tom Hardy, Idris Elba, Henry Cavill, Aaron Taylor-Johnson. It looks like those ships have sailed. Likewise, younger Hollywood heavyweights like Timothée Chalamet, Austin Butler, or Glenn Powell won't be stepping into MI6 secret corridors anytime soon either. Instead, the studio wants someone who feels raw, almost unshaped by stardom, to grow with the role. It's a move that mirrors Daniel Craig's own casting back in 2005. At the time, Craig wasn't a household name, but his gritty performance in Casino Royale redefined Bond for an entirely new era. By betting on a lesser-known actor now, Amazon could be aiming to repeat history, creating a Bond who feels more authentic, less like a star playing a role, and more like a living, breathing spy. Fleming's Bond wasn't designed to be a superhero. He was a ruthless problem solver, someone who could charm a room in one moment and strangle an enemy with his bare hands in the next. Reports suggest this is exactly the quality the new actor must embody. Whoever it is has to look like he could kill you with his bare hands in a trice, one insider explained. That's not just about muscle, it's about presence. Bond has to project danger without saying a word. The age range also matters. By casting someone in their late 20s or early 30s, Amazon is essentially setting up for a long-term commitment. If the franchise follows its usual rhythm of one film every 3 to 4 years, this new Bond could realistically headline the role for the next decade and a half. Perhaps the most intriguing detail to surface is where the story itself might go. Stephen Knight's script reportedly circles back to Bond's origins, his time as a Royal Navy commander, and how he's eventually recruited into MI6. That suggests a new origin story for 007, though not necessarily in the way Casino Royale rebooted the character. Instead, this could give audiences a deeper dive into the making of Bond, the experiences, missions, and moral compromises that forged him into the lethal operative the world knows. Of course, there's a risk here. After all, the Craig era began with an origin story. Would audiences welcome another one so soon? Or will Knight's approach feel fresh enough to distinguish itself? One thing is clear. Amazon is leaning into the idea of a new Bond, a new start, a fresh everything. That alone signals that the next era won't just be a continuation, but a reinvention. For years, debates about casting have included speculation over whether Bond could finally be played by a non-white actor. According to insiders, that possibility hasn't been ruled out. It simply depends on the story and whether the chosen actor fits the essence of the role. In other words, Bond's identity remains open to interpretation, as long as the actor can embody the danger, charm, and raw intensity Fleming's character demands. This approach is both cautious and forward-looking. By not closing the door on diversity, Amazon leaves room for evolution, while still protecting the integrity of what Bond represents in the source material. Here's where the patience of fans will be tested. Will the fans welcome a British Bond of color? Villeneuve is currently tied up with his Dune trilogy, meaning he won't even begin casting until after the third installment wraps. As it stands, production for the next Bond film is expected to start in 2027, with a theatrical release penciled in for November 2028. That's a long wait, 7 years after No Time to Die hit theaters in 2021. But given the sheer ambition of the team involved, the payoff could be worth it. Amazon clearly isn't rushing just to get another film out. They're playing the long game, aiming to establish a version of Bond that can sustain the franchise for decades to come. Daniel Craig's departure was unlike anything seen before in the franchise. In No Time to Die, Bond's story ended with his death, a first in the 60-year history of the films. That bold creative choice shut the door on continuing Craig's iteration, but it also gave the franchise a clean slate. Now the question is how tightly connected the upcoming movies will be. Will we return to the largely standalone adventures of the past, where Bond faced new threats each time without much continuity? Or will the new series maintain the serialized storytelling Craig's films pioneered? Given Villeneuve's filmmaking style and Knight's knack for character-driven drama, it wouldn't be surprising if the new era leans into deeper narratives. But at the same time, Amazon will need to balance that with the escapism that has always defined Bond. Bond isn't just another movie character, he's a cultural institution. Each new actor, each new interpretation, reflects the era it's made in. Sean Connery's Bond embodied post-war cool. Roger Moore leaned into camp during the colorful 70s. Pierce Brosnan mirrored the slick, tech-obsessed 90s. Daniel Craig reflected a grittier, more grounded 21st century. Now, Amazon and Villeneuve face the challenge of defining Bond for the late 2020s and beyond. In an age where spy thrillers like Mission Impossible and John Wick have raised the bar for action, Bond has to evolve while still feeling timeless. That's why the decision to cast an unknown is so fascinating. It's not about borrowing star power, it's about creating it. The pieces are slowly coming together for the next great reinvention of James Bond. An unknown British actor. A story that goes back to the beginning. A release date still years away. And a creative team that blends spectacle with depth. For now, the speculation will continue. Fans will dreamcast their favorites, dissect every rumor, and wonder how different this new era will feel from the ones that came before. But one thing is certain, when Bond does return, he'll be arriving with a mission, to prove that even after 60 years, the world's most famous spy still has secrets worth uncovering. What do you think about Amazon's decision to cast an unknown as the next Bond? Do you prefer the idea of going back to his Navy roots, or would you rather see a completely new direction? Should the franchise embrace diversity in its next lead, or stick as close as possible to Fleming's original description? And finally, do you think audiences will have the patience to wait until 2028 for Bond's return? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to know what you think about the future of 007.